Hi everyone and welcome to another social skills video. Today we're going to be talking all about charisma and how to be more charismatic. And this is a very popular request that I've gotten from clients who want to work on this skill and want to work on this trait. So I'm going to go over some tips and techniques and advice on how to develop your charisma better. So when we think of charismatic people, when we envision someone who is incredibly charismatic, we all probably have a different variation in mind of the sort of person that we envision. We might picture someone like Don Draper, who is very cool and confident and walks into a room and has everyone's attention, is unaffected by the rising water levels in his office. Someone who has it together and is not worried about the drama and is just focused. We might think he is incredibly charismatic. Or we might picture someone like Han Solo, who is so likable and friendly and mischievous, and you can't help but smile and enjoy being around someone like this. Or a real life example, Audrey Hepburn, who is universally one of the biggest, most celebrated female icons for her charm and her grace and her charisma, and knows how to hold herself and is poised and graceful. So we might have a different sort of version of what we think is a charismatic person. And that is because the root of charisma is not about us. It's not about how charisma makes us feel. It's about how it makes the other person feel. So the definition of charisma, as defined in the dictionary, is compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire devotion in others. And the first thing I thought of when I read this was cult leader. I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds exactly like a cult leader. And that is because cult leaders are very charismatic, but in a manipulative sort of way. They have this compellingness, this charm that makes other people want to be around them. So this video is not how to be a cult leader. That is next week's topic. This video, we're going to be looking at charisma in a very positive way, in a way that is going to make it easier for you to interact with other people and leave a good first impression, not in a way that is going to manipulate people into doing what you want. So just keep that in mind. But I thought this was funny because it shows that the foundation of charisma is about the other person. It is about how you make the other person feel. So when you're working on this, if you keep a couple of questions in mind, the first question, how do people feel being around you? Do people feel at ease being around you? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel happy and confident? Do you make them feel good? Do they feel like they're benefiting from the interaction? And after it's done, after you've parted ways, how do they feel after engaging with you? Do they walk away feeling refreshed, recharged, upbeat, sort of positive, like you were a really good presence, it was a good experience talking to you? These are the sort of things that you should be aiming for. So keep these two questions in mind as you're working on charisma. It is about how other people feel being around you and how you make them feel, so that hopefully future interactions, they'll want to talk to you again, they'll want to engage with you again. And I think if you focus on these two things at the root of working on charisma, it will really help keep you on track for the whole purpose of developing this skill. So the qualities of charismatic people, we can all probably agree, have a lot of these qualities, if not all of them, a combination of them. They're confident, they're good leaders, they're charming, they're outgoing, and they're approachable. These are the sort of people that are really successful socially, because they're so charismatic and they are able to win over the favor of so many people, and it helps advance them. And I think even if you aren't a naturally charismatic people, I think naturally charismatic people are probably very rare, and it's not a thing that comes easily for a lot of us. But these are qualities that we can all work on, I think, independently, and you can absolutely focus on these and try to get better at doing all of them. But I think it's a really, really good backbone for charisma, is making sure that you have a lot of these qualities, because these are the sort of things that people will they'll remember you by, but they'll also want to be around you for these positive qualities. So where do you begin practicing? Like, what do you do if you want to be more charismatic and you know the qualities that you have this sort of mindset that you want to go for? Where do you start? I'd start at the very foundation of speaking more. Make sure you are talking a lot. Talking is exhausting. And I talk for my job all the time, and it's very tiring. But because I've done it so much, it's very easy for me, and I can do it over and over again, and it's easy to perform this task. If you are someone who doesn't talk a lot, it's going to feel more draining for you. It's going to feel more exhausting, and you're not going to look forward to it. So I would definitely take every opportunity you can to speak more, physically speak more too, because it is for the purpose. You're not talking for the sake of the other person. This whole speaking exercise is for you. It's so that you can feel comfortable with your voice. You can develop a certain cadence to your voice, and that when the time comes that you have to talk to other people, it's not going to be so draining for you. So if you have the ability to talk with other people, take every opportunity to do that. If not, though, feel free to make a video, a vlog about yourself. Feel free to use an audio diary, or if you want to read an audiobook, if you want to read something aloud, because this exercise is for your own benefit. So definitely take the opportunity to speak to others if you can, but if not, don't let that deter you. Get a microphone, pull out your iPhone, hit record, and just audibly speak for your own sake. Building a public persona, I think, is a really good thing that you can do to make it easier for you to survive certain social situations if you're not the sort of person that feels like, oh, well, I'm never going to be charismatic. I'm never going to be outgoing. If you work on having a public persona that you can turn on and turn off, that way you're only performing when you have to. That might take some of the pressure off the situation. So let's say at work, if you have a role where you have to interface with clients or you have to interface with coworkers a lot, and it kind of drags you down, just think of it as a separate sort of role that you can put on. So when you go to work, you put on your hat and you act a certain way. It's the same thing for charisma. You can just turn it on when you need it. So thinking about it in this way as a sort of performance might help make it easier for you to fit into that role. So it's less about you changing or developing qualities and techniques that don't really feel good for you or don't feel natural for you, and instead just saying, okay, well, here's my customer service facing interface, or here's my persona that I use when I have to talk to professors or have to talk to people that I work with. Being more concerned with how the other person feels is very crucial, because as we've seen, with the whole idea of charisma is, and it's inspiring that sort of good feeling in other people. So just make sure that you are not putting yourself first, so to speak. You are thinking about how the situation and what you're doing is affecting the other person, because that is going to ultimately affect whether or not they want to talk to you again. It's going to affect their perception of you and how they felt about the whole situation. Being polite, it's basic. I feel like I shouldn't have to put it in here, but it's very, very important for charisma, because charismatic people, I think, are seen as very just kind of kind and polite and nice to everybody. And it's not just people you're trying to impress. And it's not for the sake of, I'm not suggesting you be polite just to leave a good impression. I want you to be polite because it's the right thing to do, but it's a very, very important trait to develop if you are working on this skill. So if you're not that great about saying thank you and showing graciousness and getting used to saying things that show the other person that you appreciate them, it might be a good thing for you to start doing. Continuing, being less impulsive. This is great advice, not even for developing charisma, but just in general. Showing restraint, showing self-control shows that you are in command of the situation and that you are thoughtful. And these are the sort of qualities that you want to be able to portray. So if you're very rash, if you do the first thing that comes to your mind, if you don't take any time to cool down or to reflect about a situation, you might want to get in the habit of just taking a breather, thinking about it, and then reapproaching the situation before you are acting. Body language, I go over this in every single video, I feel, but body language is so important. Smiling more, because when someone sees you, the physical the physical portrayal of you is the first impression that someone is going to have. So make sure that you're kind of just, you have like an open, friendly stance. You're smiling more. People love to see people smile because there's something disarming about it. When you see someone smiling, it gives off this, oh yeah, they're a friendly person. It says a lot without having to say anything at all. So if you're not a big smiler, if it's something that just doesn't feel natural for you, I would suggest maybe turning on a favorite comedy of yours, turning on a stand-up routine that you know will always make you laugh, reading your favorite comedy book, something that you know and is tried and true to make you laugh, and practice laughing more and smiling more, because this is going to be very important for when you are interacting with other people, is to make sure that you are coming off as friendly and nice. So body language and smiling, so super important for charisma. And be engaging with other people too. Just make sure it's not all about you. It's not just a one-man show. You're not performing. You're actually having a conversation and asking for people's input, and ask, oh, what do you think about the situation? Making people feel that they are valuable and that you care about them is a great way to make sure that they'll want to talk to you again and you leave a good first impression. And speaking of leave a good impression, you want to make sure that when you're meeting someone for the first time, if it's at a job interview, a first date, you want to leave a really, really good impression, because it is going to affect whether or not you get the job, or whether or not you are going to get along with someone, or you're going to hear from someone again, or someone wants to reach out and talk to you again. If a client comes to work with you, leaving a good impression is so crucial to ensuring future contact. So I'd try and focus a lot in making sure that you are performing to the best of your capabilities, and not in a manipulative way. I don't want to tell anyone to just fake it, but it is very important to make sure that you are sort of on your best behavior, and that when you meet someone for the first time, they have a really, really good experience with you. So when do you use charisma? Is charisma something that you need to have 24/7? Do you need to develop this and just change your personality? Absolutely not. I think charisma is like any other skill, in which you use it when you need it. You use it when it's going to benefit the situation, when you kind of need to rely on it. So in these examples, when you're meeting someone for the first time, you're giving a public presentation, you are at a job interview, or you're at work, you're interfacing with superiors, you have to be a good reflection on your company, well, your company, your career, but also the people that you are around. In these sort of situations, these are all sort of social situations, you'd want to pull out the charisma and maybe dial it up a bit. So this is just an example of the different ways in which the different scenarios in which you'd want to be more charismatic. And even if it's something that you feel like, I don't see the benefit, I don't think I'm a charismatic person, I definitely try to develop it a little bit so that you have your own little twist, because it will definitely come in handy, especially as you get older and you advance your career and whatnot. It's very important for networking. It's very important for making connections and keeping connections, is making sure that you are just a memorable sort of person, and charisma can really, really help with that. So I hope that the tips and techniques we went over in the video can help you out, and good luck on the new year, and I will see you next time. Bye.